Hello and welcome to this video on tips and tricks for developers of AI applications running in the cloud. My name is Adrian and I'd like to share with you a project that I'm working on. This is extracting extracts from YouTube videos and then providing a summary with an LLM. So I'm focusing on these educational videos from the TED channel, in particular about awesome nature. And we have stuff like fish shaped explanations and why are sloths so slow, and all sort of interesting trivia about nature. So I've been working on this code, which I have on my IDE of choice, which is VS Code, a very popular IDE for development in multiple languages. This is all in Python, and I have been working on this code locally, and I feel more or less good about it, but I like to run it now with GPU acceleration, and that's where Hyperstack comes in. So I have already set up my VM and the Hyperstack dashboard. We have done that in previous videos, so please refer to those if you need a refresher. Otherwise, I'm just going to SSH into the VM, and let me show you what I've got in here. So I've got two A100s with 80 gigabytes each, PCIe. I think this is going to be just great for running Mixtral 8x7b, which is my model of choice for this application. Okay, so I have already checked out my code in the VM. There. I'm up to date there. Now I like to run it, but I like to run it in a familiar way, which is within my IDE, so that I can inspect the code and add breakpoints and so on. In this case, that would be VS Code. And I can do exactly that by clicking on this blue button to the bottom left, connect to host, and here I have already configured a number of VMs on Hyperstack. And all I need to do is just give the IP, the public IP, the username, and where I keep my SSH key. So with that in mind, I can just choose my VM and connect to it directly from within VS Code. I can open the folder, which I just showed you on the command line. And here I am in my code from within the virtual machine. But the first thing I notice is that this looks a bit weird, like the dependencies don't show in the familiar green, and I don't see any button to even run it. So this is now on a new machine which hasn't yet been configured with the necessary dependencies. So let's go ahead and fix our environment. First thing, let me go to the extensions tab, and I can tap on this button to install the local extensions on the virtual machine. In fact, I probably don't need all of those. I think I can go with Python, Python debugger, isort, and black, and then hit OK. And all these dependencies or these plugins are now being installed on the VM. Okay, this looks a bit better now. And I have the familiar play button here to run my code. But now that I think about it, I have a number of requirements here which I haven't yet defined. So let me go back here and try and select an interpreter. And I have the option to create a virtual environment, which I will accept. I will go with the familiar .vm folder for the virtual environment, and the global Python 3.10 will be just fine by me. It already guesses that the requirements will be in this file. So hit OK, and all those dependencies are now being installed in the virtual environment from within the virtual machine. Okay, my virtual environment is now ready with the dependencies defined in the requirements.txt file. And let me just quickly reboot. So I can come here and it's already pre-selected the virtual environment. Great. And all these dependencies now show in the familiar green, which show that it is already recognized by the environment. And I have a main section here at the bottom. So I'm ready to run my script by going here, Python debugger, debug Python file. And now you can see that the terminal within VS Code activates and it's already running my code. All right, so it turns out that my script failed. And the first thing that I can see is a type error. And that happened in this line of code. So looking at this initially, I have no idea why this fails, and I need to debug this. Welcome to the life of a developer. But this is where all tooling really helps us. So what would I do here? Typically, I would set a breakpoint and run it again and stop right before that one step and see if something's off. So let's try that. But actually, you know what? We're gonna stop this and I'm gonna show you a pro tip, which is when I need to iterate quickly, what I sometimes do is that I use a very, very small model which behaves just as the model I'm using, but is much faster to load. So instead of Mixtral, just for the debugging, we're gonna change. And yeah, let's just debug this. Okay, this is really helpful. Now I'm running this code in the VM in the cloud, and I'm stopping on this particular point in the execution. And here on the left, I can inspect the variables. So it's failing on this line, which is decoding the output of the LLM. And oh, wait a second, look at this. I have the device on the CPU. Of course, I forgot to load my model in the GPU. So I'm gonna let myself be distracted just once from the problem at hand and try and fix that. So hold on tight while I fix it. Okay, so I have added this code to use tensor parallelism to shard the model across both GPUs and load it there. And I also send the input tokens to the device, the CUDA device. So I can rerun my code. Okay, I'm back at my breakpoint. I can inspect the output. Oh, and now my output is located on the CUDA device, which is what I expected. That's pretty good. But otherwise, I don't know why this fails. So let me try and step into the function, right? With this button over here. But that didn't quite work. I'm still in my local script, and I wanted to inspect inside the transformers library in this case. Well, we need to set up some extra configuration for that in VS Code. Let's do just that. I can come here and follow the recommendation to create a launch JSON file. The Python debugger, Python file, and I've got this template over here, and I can't just add just my code false, which is going to tell VS Code that I should be able to inspect inside third-party code when running my code step by step. Okay, with that change in mind, let's choose Python debugger using launch.json, which we just created. And let's pick it up again. Okay, let's try and step in right now. Isn't that nice? It took me to the file with inside packages belonging to the transformers library, and I am still executing my code, but I can now go step by step into this dependency code. Okay. And I can see that the token IDs should be either an integer or a list of integers. But wait a second, I have a matrix structure over here. So let me go back in the stack to my section of the code, and now output is a tensor in PyTorch. Oh, I can check the size, and sure enough it has 3, and I just remember that I'm actually asking the model to generate a number of return sequences, which it has defined as 3. Therefore, this method over here won't work because it's just meant to decode a single output, not multiple outputs. So hold on tight again, let me fix that. And I have made this fix over here, which is going to use batch decode when the number of return sequences is greater than 1, otherwise it's going to use decode. And let's try and see if I enter this branch in the execution. And sure enough, here I am inside the branch, just as I expected. Now, if I step over this, ooh, that worked. And I have the generations over here with 3 generations, which is again what I expected from the prompting of the model in this section over here. So you saw how easy it is to use VS Code, a familiar developer interface with all the power of the developing tools and infrastructure while running the code with GPU acceleration on the cloud. I hope that was interesting to you, and until the next video, stay safe. Thanks for watching.